Greetings and welcome back to switchedtolinux. Sorry again for the late delay. Yes, Google keeps on messing with the stream keys, and basically it takes me like 13 tries to actually get the thing to start coming on. So hopefully you guys are hearing my voice and seeing me and here, because I don't even know what in the world stream setting I'm on right now, but OBS is feeding and Google says it's receiving the stream, so we're going to run with it. Hopefully the title's still right, which we should be talking about de-Googling ourselves. So if somebody can confirm that's exactly what you're seeing, that would be totally epically awesome. But anyway, let's go ahead and let the panel on, and I'll unmute them today. All right, how's it going, guys?
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Hey. Stream seems to be working.
All right, good. That's good, because I don't even, like, it was yelling at me. It's like, your stream changed. You should change the name of your kid. I'm like, I don't even, just as long as it feeds, I don't care what you're calling it. Just feed, just work. Google, work. Live streaming. You got one job, live stream.
You know, it's amazing nowadays where everything just kind of half works and half don't.
I know. You know what?
And they want good money for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just frazzled. Like, it's one of those, my Thursdays, especially like my one Thursday a week, we do our Christian writers thing. And so my entire day's up with that. And then I ran over to a friend's house for dinner. So at least I ate really well before the stream, which is good. And I've just been running back to back all day today. So it's like, I'm still frazzled. Hopefully I can remember the content for this stream and the next stream, but we'll see. Oh man. How's everyone doing? Vince, you look relaxed and comfortable today. Unless you're at work.
Vince looks like he got a nap.
Do I look like I just woke up? Well, probably because I did.
Yeah, that's all right. It's just looks so much more relaxed. You know, we got ice and stuff, so you know. All right, so how's everybody else doing?
Fine. There's no ice or anything here, but it's still pretty cold.
Cold?
Yeah.
Come up here with me.
How's Canadian weather going? Do you got cold, Canada?
As for Canadian weather, it's pretty bad, especially in Newfoundland, where they had like 80 centimeters of snow, like really bad, which was like a world record, at least over there.
80 centimeters. Can you convert that to English units for us Americans?
I'm not even sure how. We learned all of that in school, so to convert it, I don't even know how to do. They taught us how to convert too, but I don't remember anything.
2.54 centimeters per inch. So divide by.
I mean, it's crazy that we should use base 10 metrics. It's crazy.
I know. We got Moonbase.
I actually.
Oh, go ahead, Quint.
I did get a replacement router, and I have the Unify router back in, so I'm no longer stuck with the Google router.
Sweet. You changed some things in your office there. You used to have a desk there. Now you have a crate full of bins.
Yeah, I have. There was like there was actually a Target bookshelf that just completely fell apart. And we put this big bookshelf here that I actually had upstairs.
Nice. Very cool. All right. Yeah. So we got Moonbase Alpha Grays are on. Cortana's here. No, Cortana. No. All right. Bob the Hopper's on. Hello, Bob. How are you doing today? Is it Alkud Nord? How's it going there? Google or YouTube? Google's messing with it. Well, yeah. I mean, they're all owned by the same conglomerate. So. The Incobable, is Cobable the alien? Hello, is Cobable. How's it going there? Are you a fellow? I don't recognize you. Are you a fellow reptilian? You must be a gray because I don't know you. Let's see. We're fighting about who owns what. Yeah. Okay. YouTube is a Google property which is owned by Alphabet. If that helps. When I receive AdSense revenue, the actual check comes from Google. Just an FYI. All right, Harvey Jones, how's it going there? And greetings, Mitchell. I bet you're warm down there in Phoenix, too. How's it going there? Skybear, greetings. Welcome, everyone. Have to shut off my firewall to use YouTube on the phone and computer. Ooh, that's exciting. Hello and confirmed. All right. Is that order unicorn meat confirmed? All right. Roger did land in the street. Roger, TJ, and 10 others beamed down with a birthday cake. It was epic. Perfect. Awesome. Very cool. Well, happy birthday. I don't have my birthday stream on this. Remind me tomorrow. I'll play my birthday stream video for you. United Nations reportedly suffered a hack, which it tried to keep secret. Then the information about the hack was hacked. I don't know. Okay. Doing well, thank you. If I think maybe of assistance query, what can you do? Okay. Shoulders are pasty now. Uh-oh. Vince, need more sun.
Well, I was looking. Yeah, my shoulders. If you compare it to my forearms, which are like brown because it's my driving arm here.
Yeah.
My shoulders
yeah.
are. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, that's the opposite arm as we have sticking out the window because your steering wheels are on the other side.
Yep.
So because we drive on the right side of the road. Literally the right side of the road.
You know what? The whole world and driving in general is kind of messed up. In the UK, they drive on the left side of the road but use miles per hour. You cross over into Europe, they drive on the right side of the road but use kilometers.
Canada, they drive on the right side of the road and use kilometers.
In the US, we use the right side of the road and use miles per hour. There is no world standard for driving.
No.
I wish there was a world standard for electricity. Like somebody had just come up with like one type of outlet and one type of voltage that would have been used across the world. Like that just makes a lot more sense.
Well, I mean, we'll get that about the time we get world peace. That's going to come in right behind world peace. World peace will happen, and then outlets will be unified. So
at least Canada, though, has the same type that we have, because that would be really annoying. Because
yeah, of course you get a good electronics like my Fitlit PC that actually has a swappable outlet. I can change it to whatever your modern whatever outlet thing is. So
yeah, if we standardize all that stuff, there's nothing to make anybody different from any other country.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right. But isn't that what we want anyway? We want total unity, and where no cultural differences, no anything. It's just which part of the world do you want to live in, and everything else has to be the same.
Only when your race becomes part to taking over the planet.
Oh, okay. Well, not even us.
Well, I was reading somewhere.
Not bad yet.
I was reading somewhere that the only race will be a brown race in the future anyway.
Oh, really? All right.
Because of mixed marriages, all that.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on the dominance and recessiveness of the genes. I'm not sure. Is the gene that conveys melatonin more dominant or more recessive? Anybody know off the top? Does anybody know what I'm talking about off the top? Okay.
kind of.
All them biology courses coming back.
I wasn't listening at all, but
all right. So in dominant recessive traits, so like color blindness is a recessive trait carried exclusively on the sex gene, so XY gene. So if you have a colorblind female, which is extraordinarily rare because it takes a recessive gene on both X chromosomes, 100% of the male children that a woman has who is colorblind will be colorblind because it is a recessive trait. So the color of your skin, whether you are white or black, simply has to do with the amount of melatonin that your body produces. Is it melatonin? No, it's melanin.
It's melanin.
Not melatonin.
Melanin makes you sleep.
Yeah, yes, correct. Sleepy man. All right. So Vince knows all about that, right? Okay. So it's the melanin in the skin. So the question is, to what degree? Now, not all things are as simple as color blindness. There's varying levels, varying degrees. So to what degree is the skin color and the skin pigmentation, what degree is that as dominant and recessive will kind of tell you, because not every person who is a white person and a black person making a baby always produces a black child. Is kind of the point. So apparently our genes are now racist because... But anyway, I digress. Let's see. Black is predominant. Okay. Right. Sorry about earlier. Keep having okay boomer moments. Okay, boomer. Except I'm older than you are. The Putin square, and it's the Punnett square, I believe it is, right? Is it the Putin? I
Yes,
think
it's the Punnett square. I remember.
Okay, I was gonna say I'm not going crazy about that. I'm pretty sure.
My biology teacher was not very good, and so I didn't learn a ton of stuff in biology.
I had the same
Okay,
problem.
Wikipedia is telling me that both the amount and type of melanin produced is controlled by a number of genes that operate under incomplete dominance.
Incomplete dominance. Okay.
Okay.
So incomplete dominance means it's sitting somewhere in the middle. So it's kind of going to depend on the individual person and their level of expression of genes. So, for whatever that's worth. Are we done with geek talk? We want to get to Google now, or what?
Yeah, we should probably be getting to that.
Okay, so the topic for today is kind of de-Googling our life a little bit, which we already did a big panel discussion on various Google alternatives. So I basically wanted to start with 3 questions, and I don't have a whole lot of articles and things to pull up, so we'll just kind of have kind of a loose and informal discussion while this cat keeps on probing at me. What? You want to come up and say hello?
That is your handler. He has something to tell you.
Got something to tell me, huh? He's like, yeah, I got something to tell you. Give me them kitty treats. All right.
You want me to share my Google story?
Yeah, let's go ahead and share your Google story, and then we'll ask the first question.
This happened. I guess this happened only yesterday. So it was in physical science, which is the science class I take now. The teacher told us the teacher basically said this: everybody, pull out your phones and download the Google Science Journal app. And so it's this app basically that
I'm gonna pull it up and put it on the screen.
Yeah, if you look up Google Science Journal, it's a pretty interesting idea.
All right, go ahead on your story. I'll go ahead and put it on the screen.
What Google Science Journal is it's this app that lets you record different things from sensors from your phones. Like you can record stuff from the accelerometers, you can record light intensity, you can record using the compass, you can record sound frequency. And we were going to use this to do some experiments with. And basically I told the teacher I can't download stuff on my phone. I have to let my parents have to approve everything. Mm-hmm. So the teacher would know that I couldn't download it right then, because how am I supposed to tell the teacher that I have a FOSS phone?
Yeah, and then tell your parents that please say no, I'm not allowed to have it, right? All right. So
what I did is when I got home that night, I actually figured out when I was coming home from school that Google Science Journal actually is open source. There's an open source base called Open Science Journal, and the Google Science Journal is just that exact same base with Google APIs installed, like Google Drive integration and stuff, which is stuff we weren't using. So I figured since everything else was there, like all the actual sensors and everything, that I would try to compile this app. Mm-hmm. So I did, and I had to use, what I had to do, it was crazy. I had to download 3 different versions of Android Studio to get it to compile. I had to download a version from 2017 to actually make it work. And it took me 2 hours to get everything work, because it just kept failing and failing and failing and failing. But finally, I was able to get it to compile. But then I realized that there was a pre-release on GitHub. I was using the stable release, and the pre-release worked with the newest version of Android Studio. And so that was more of a facepalm moment when I realized that I could have just downloaded that pre-release version and had everything done.
Yeah.
But I did get it finally working.
So here's your permissions, all right? So we have read the contents, USB storage, modify, delete. Okay, so that's fine. Location, and it uses just the approximate location, so it's not using GPS location, so that's actually good. Take pictures and videos, record audio. Now, what is there that you would need to record audio for?
I think there's a microphone thing. It likes used to determine sound frequencies and stuff that needs the microphone.
All right, that makes sense. We have read contents of your USB storage, modify the contents. Okay, these ones are the ones that are a little odd to me. Find accounts on a device, add and remove accounts.
What there
What?
is there's a way to sync it with Google. Like you can
Mhm.
sync it with Google Drive.
Okay. Contacts. Find accounts on this device for contacts.
Nothing related to that.
Why does this Google application need to access your contacts?
What?
All right. Download files without notification, full network access, view network connections, control vibration, measure app and storage space, access Bluetooth settings, read Google services configuration, prevent device from sleeping, pair with Bluetooth devices. Overall, not a super bad app as far as the privacy and security stuff. I'm very leery about this. Why does it need to access contacts? That's
So this is if you actually
I don't
if
know.
you go to the description, if you click read more on the description, there should be a thing that says open source code available here.
What do they do with all
like
you
a
kids
GitHub.
that have iPhones?
I'm sure it's
This
probably
app works
available.
It works on iOS too.
Okay.
Everybody else in that class had an iPhone.
All right, so here Google so Google/Science Journal. So yeah, there is an open source code available.
That's what
So
I compiled in Android Studio.
good.
And
Yeah.
this is the open source version. It's just the exact same thing. It's just called Open Science Journal instead of Google Science Journal.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have Google APIs in it. And so
Okay.
that problem was solved. Luckily that there was an open source version and I was able to get it to work.
Yeah. So
So I didn't mention this, but the proprietary version didn't even work on my phone. Like it would just crash when you launched it.
that's probably because you're running Micro G, right?
I have Micro G, but not everything works with Micro G.
That's
It's
probably
still
the
like-
case. Is that it's probably just crashing because of Micro G.
You know what you're telling us? You're now required to have a cell phone to go to school.
Yeah, especially in colleges, you need to have some sort of laptop. Of
I
course,
could expect that for college, but for the school
Yeah.
he goes to, you know, it's bad enough that they give them Chromebooks or whatever they're using for his class, but you
think
got to
you-
supply a cell phone now.
Yeah. You need a Mac, right, Quint?
Yeah, I
You
have
to
a Mac.
Yeah. Which is required. Now, in fairness, though, it is not a public school, though, correct?
Yes, it's a private school.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that changes the ball game a
Yeah.
little.
maybe. It's still a little odd, but I mean that's though a very good example of what we're talking about today. Is that here is go to a school, download this app. What if I don't want to download an app? What if I do not legit no? My phone is used as a phone. That's it. And the cat's like, dude, my phone's used as a phone. Let me out of here.
I asked the teacher about it, and the teacher was like, "It's required for this class. You have to have the app to pass the class."
Eh.
What if I have a parental note that says no, my child does not use his phone for applications because we're concerned about addiction to phones.
I honestly have no idea.
And that's
Because
why I think
everybody has a phone.
yeah, I think that's why though we need a little bit of regulation about tech and education because Zuckerberg and Cook and Gates, all these guys who have kids in school and who had kids in school would not let their kids' schools go near technology, which is very interesting. Kind of funny. Yes. Oh no. Punxsutawney Phil would be a robot with AI Google. Yeah. PETA is calling for Punxsutawney Phil to be replaced, by the way, with an AI groundhog. That will be in Sillyville News tomorrow.
Oh god. Oh my god. It just amazes me how much stuff is on the internet.
Just let me out of here. All right. Anyway, let's get on to our questions. So question number 1, what cases do we still use Google? Which is a good one because this is when we get into de-Googling our life. One of the things is that I like to avoid extremes. Okay. I'm not an extremist, believe it or not. There's times and there's cases and there's places where it still makes a lot of sense to use some Google services and some Google products in some places. So let's hear first, what cases do we still have, where do we still use Google, A, and B, are still happy to use Google? What do you guys think? Anybody?
I have one.
Go ahead, Quinn.
YouTube.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't mind using YouTube.
I was going to say that, yeah.
YouTube's more or less an addiction.
Need my YouTube fixed.
Yeah.
YouTube is now pretty much the only Google service I use for personal reasons regularly. Like I still use Google stuff at school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as for YouTube, almost the entire world is using YouTube as well a social media platform, and unlike Facebook or Twitter or those social media platforms, YouTube is just different in the way it handles things. But almost the entire world is using YouTube for everything, which is a big concern because the market share of YouTube versus others is kind of a big gap between that. So, yeah, a lot of people use YouTube, and definitely I do too for watching you and basically watching almost all my content.
Yeah, and like the reasons, and here, like, oh, you switch to BitChute. Well, when BitChute actually starts working and responding to messages that people are leaving about their services not working, it might become a viable alternative. But I don't see a viable alternative. I don't see a viable alternative in BitChute. I don't see it in Library. I don't see it in PeerTube. I don't see a viable opportunity there. And the fact is, people are here on YouTube. So if we want to get out the messages of warnings, you got to be where people are going to listen. I mean, I could be the most eloquent speaker in the world. If I go out in the middle of these mesquite sand dunes and start preaching it, there's not going to be anybody there because the mesquite sand dunes is in the middle of Death Valley and people don't go there, So, one or two people who really like that environment are like, hey, I don't mind sitting around in 120-degree weather at 45 below sea level, burning in a summer desert. But, for those that do, they already know what you're talking about. And so that's the thing. So you got to have a place with an audience to go and talk about what the issues are. And so there are still those places where we still do want to use it. And I think that YouTube is a good, valid one. And of course, I always preface it by saying that I have a dedicated browser for YouTube that doesn't get used with anything else, which is an important point because it means that I'm not, whatever else I'm doing on the internet isn't carrying over. Any other cases where people are still using it? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do have another one too. You also use this one. It's more from a web developer standpoint. reCAPTCHA.
Yes. There's a whole suite of things for websites. So I use search tools, Google Analytics, reCAPTCHA, and also some of my sites run ads. Google Ads. So
those two. I didn't think about those, but I just mainly thought about reCAPTCHA.
Correct. Yeah. And there's a few open source reCAPTCHA things I haven't experimented with a whole lot. There's actually some open source analytics, which is kind of jumping into the next one of the questions, the things that I'm using and want it to replace. So there's actually a couple of open source analytics platforms that I'm looking into. So we have Matomo. So this is Rivals Analytics Functions, formerly known as pweek. It does most of what analytics does, and chances are it offers the same features. Now, some of these, and I'm not sure, maybe all of these, you can actually use a self-hosted version, which means I can have all of my analytics on my own server and no external company has any of that. That's actually a good thing to do that I'm looking into. So Open Web Analytics, AW Stats. I think I used AW Stats in early days. I don't remember that being particularly good. And there's Countly. So items there. All right, go ahead, Quinn.
There is one. There is another reCAPTCHA alternative. It's not open source. It's called G-Test.
Yeah.
GEETEST.
I remember there actually being an open source reCAPTCHA. So those are things that I'm looking into as I'm doing different things. There's 39 best reCAPTCHA sources. Let's see. That's a pretty useless web page. Wow. See if I can find something else. Open source. Let's see. So CAPTCHA is one, I think. Let's see. Let's have a look. Okay, so there's some CAPTCHA alternatives on W3C. So CAPTCHA type, no reCAPTCHA, reCAPTCHA reboot. There's I'll have to dig through that. I remember there being an open source reCAPTCHA out there somewhere. Any other comments there on the first one? Google services we still do
Um,
use.
I guess the only thing is the reason why people use YouTube is for entertainment. But I think it's because of the course of the early internet. Because I remember the very first time when I went on YouTube a long time ago, like in 2007, when I was a little kid, and we used to have a Nintendo Wii and the internet channel on it, and we were able to connect to YouTube. And at the early days, YouTube was like a new place, and when we compare it to today, it's a very different place. But YouTube has been there for like a decade,
Yeah,
like
but
almost.
YouTube has not always been owned by Google. Back
Yeah,
when you first started, I believe it was
Mm-hmm.
owned by Adobe or Macromedia or something like that.
I think Google acquired it in
at least
2006.
maybe
2000,
like
No, I
short
think YouTube
after.
was a startup. It was a startup. It was its own company, I think.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, and then I think it
Hmm.
was 2006 when Google
Yeah,
acquired
and,
it.
and it ran on Flash.
yeah. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
worked
Mm-hmm.
on Nintendo Wii and other stuff. So because of that, over the course of decades, more and more people started joining and making YouTube channels and stuff. And now we're at a point that YouTube just can't keep up with so many people trying to make their own YouTube channels. So the only solution is that smaller channels are getting less recommended than the popular ones. Not only as a business decision, but
Mhm.
I'm not sure about the storage, but if they keep building it's just gonna never end, really. So they have to manage it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
All right.
That's
be
something.
there's going to come a point where some of the other larger companies, especially television networks, are going to start complaining about people watching more YouTube than regular TV programming.
That's already
Yeah,
happening, though.
Yeah, that's happened ages ago, Dan.
Yeah.
Mm.
So here is, I just found it. So secure image. This is a PHP based reCAPTCHA. So this is what it looks like. So a couple demos there. So we have entering text, we have mathematical formula, and we have a 2-word reCAPTCHA. So that's a good source to try, which might be nice to see if it would work well. But okay.
So I still use Google Drive on a regular basis as well.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've never put anything personal on there because I knew that not to put anything personal out in public. But it's I still use it mainly as a bit of a scratch pad for temporary stuff if I'm sharing stuff with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Like just holiday planning, packing lists, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I've got a Gmail account as well, but then that I only use that for very limited accounts that I sign up to.
Mm-hmm.
What else? That's my. Oh, well, Google does have my contacts, but that goes way back from when I first bought my first Android phone.
Yeah.
And I mean, the problem is once they have it once, they've got it forever. Even if you elect to delete it, who knows?
Yeah, they probably are still deleting it. I still err on the side of delete them, but even when I first had Android phones, though, I've never actually used those type of cloud syncing things, which is kind of funny.
Mm.
Yeah. The only thing I did the very first time that I got an Android device, at that time it was an Android tablet, like a really cheap one from Samsung.
Mm-hmm.
I used to synchronize everything, including my photos and almost everything. But then after researching and as I got more mature and figuring out what was going on, that was about the time where Edward Snowden was about to leak all the NSA stuff. Like that was before that happened. So at the time, not a lot of people even knew what it was. So then after when I really started researching, then this is where I started to be more worried about Google and trying to de-Googlify myself. However, sometimes I still had to use Google phones because after that I kept buying Google phones and I still synchronized my Google account with it. But after that, I finally decided to just remove all Google from my Android phone, and that's what I'm doing now.
So yeah, when I got my first Android phone, which I guess was the Pixel 2 that I had before I got the Essential phone, I did sync stuff with Google because that was before I was into all sorts of privacy stuff. But then I gradually started to take off stuff from Google. I think the first thing I did was I downloaded F-Droid. That was like my first privacy move. And then eventually I took all my photos off Google Photos. I took all my contacts off Google Contacts. I moved the contacts into Nextcloud. I keep the photos on my computer. And I think, yes, stuff like that. And then email, I moved away from Gmail and I moved to my own email server. And then finally, I just one of the, I think like after the last few months that I had the phone, I signed out completely from Google and just used everything without Google.
Yeah.
And then I got the Essential phone with Lineage and Micro G, no Google connectivity.
Yep. Yeah. So that's good. Looking at some of the comments, of course, Vince says need to be convinced of the benefits prior to letting your kids download an app. So what would you tell a teacher, Vince, if they said, hey, your kids need to download this app for school? What would you tell them?
Exactly what we've been discussing here, that I'm very concerned about my child's privacy. I would want assurances that none of their personal details are being sent back to whichever service is providing that app. And I hope that they understand that. It's more of a test of what the teachers understand is what I would be asking them.
Yeah.
Because if they are going to be advising my kids to be using this stuff, I'd want them to be really well educated in what this stuff is. Otherwise, what are we paying them for? I get that they're very busy and that most teachers are probably underpaid and overworked. But I would like that they would share some of the concerns at least.
Yeah. The Quantum Alpha says cell phones are now banned in schools there in Ontario, Canada, which is good. Now, if the purpose of this, though, is to connect things. So when I was teaching first year, we had a device, I think it was called a Pasco unit. They're like maybe $300 a piece or something at the time. But you could attach anything and everything to these things for various sensors. Get those. They're not tied to an individual kid. It's not their kid's individual devices. Or if you really can't afford that, then here's a thought for the school. Why don't you take a little bit of your budget that's currently probably going to your overpaid principal and 15 administrators, borrow a little bit of that and bring in those $30 crap phones and just have a case of crappy phones with the stupid app installed in it and pass them out in class. That's what they used to do for us back before the TI calculators were good for everybody. You know, they had a box of them locked up in the closet and today we're using the calculators, kids, you know, and that was a big deal. Now, of course, it's like you got to go buy your own calculator, and we're only in first grade, which is why kids can't do simple math.
I had to buy a TI-84, but mine's like the one they make now is the TI-84 CE. It has a color screen and an internal battery. And there's also like a computer app that you can use to like install updates with, but I don't have that.
Oh God! Now it's a smart calculator.
Yeah, it's all exciting. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Visualizers. I've not used any Google visualizers. BlackBerry Z10. The BlackBerry Z10 was horrible. I had one of those at one point in time. I had that for exactly like 1 week. The thing managed to somehow nuke all of my contacts. I don't know how.
I used to want to have a BlackBerry phone. There was a phone that was more privacy centric, but then I did my research and they just put Android, and although it was their own custom version of Android, it still had all the Google stuff. So I didn't get why it was even more private than what they had anyways.
If I remember, I think it was the BlackBerry messaging platform that was their privacy selling point.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, BlackBerry went through a point where they decided to stop making their own operating system and just adopted open source Google into their phones.
Yeah. Here's a fascinating question from Jeff. Concerns. Why go to school in the first place if all they do is give you a phone app to teach? Very valid. Touche, you know.
Here, I'll show you some. So basically, all this app does is you just have this thing where you can like record different like sensors. Like for this one we use today, I'm using different accelerometers. I'm using a linear accelerometer. I'm using an accelerometer on the X position and on the Y position, or it's grid. I think, is it grid? Is that what you call it? I can't remember exactly, but just to track movement basically. And you basically record it and you can look back and you could see like exactly where it, like how the phone moved.
I would disagree. I used to have more fun bashing things together in physics and then plotting it on a graph. That was way more fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it taught you actually. It's like a lot of education, particularly in science education. It's not about the result. It's about the process to get the result. If you remove the process to get the result, you are not learning anything. And this is why American education is the bottom, the absolute rock bottom of the developed world, because we're concerned with the results. We're not concerned with the process, and the process is what is important.
Yeah,
exactly.
Even college, they really care about those grades, and they put everything online now.
Yeah, I used to sell those online homework platforms that you're using. What homework platforms are you using? Online homework platforms.
I use.
Well, he's in college, so I want to hear from him.
Yeah, so I use D2L or Desire to Learn, which is
D2L.
I think it's a Swedish company or whatever. There's been many times where I did some tests and then the grades were not accurate at first because apparently Brightspace, as they call it, did some errors and stuff. So I had a false grade, which means I didn't pass. But then the teacher had to check manually and try to check all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that I passed because Brightspace glitched out because technology.
Yeah. I actually had students we were using Master in Chemistry at one point in time. And I had students come in and they proved to me why Master in Chemistry should not be used because it does not follow the rules in the textbook it was linked to. And they were completely right, which was a very cool thing. Quint, what were you using now?
We use, for like homework assignments, just to like post like assignments and stuff, we use Google Classroom. But for actual grades, we use a program called RenWeb. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
Not by name, no. So
Yeah,
I worked in the college. We had a K through 12 division, but I worked in the college division. So we had OWL mastering D2L. There was another one. D2L might have actually been built off of ours. One of them was built off of ours. Yeah. I think it might have been Cengage Learning. Is that D2L? Not Cengage though. Yeah, but there were a few of them that were actually built on top of ours. So they wanted a system. We actually outsourced our code for them and allowed them to rebrand it. So
I'm just glad that my grades aren't stored on Google servers and stuff. That they're with a different company. It's not Google.
They're probably storing through Google through a third-party app.
Oh.
Yeah, it would still depend on how much oversight they have.
Yeah.
But it's better than being linked directly to a Google account.
Yeah.
Well, my grades is actually stored on Amazon Cloud Services. That's what they use to host D2L.
Yeah.
So it's on Amazon, so it's probably encrypted, but it's on Amazon.
Yeah, it's just as bad.
Yeah.
I know we were using Google infrastructure in that company for at least the email communications platform. And I don't know where our servers were at. Since I wasn't on the server end of things, I don't know where our servers were. But
I'm pretty sure our university kept their own servers, and we looked it up on their own servers.
Yeah. So here's, let's see, we already talked about where. Okay, let's go ahead and phase in. We kind of beat that second question to death as well. What are we using now? We'd like to replace. Let's phase into where are the places we are not currently using Google services, or what places have we already replaced Google services? So, Dan, you've replaced your emails, right?
Yes, I have my own A2 hosting email service there with my own domain. And that's been working out pretty darn good for me. And I have still one existing Google email account because you kind of have to have it if you want to use YouTube. You can't really delete it because it takes you through a chain of taking out and deleting your YouTube account at the end. So rather at the risk of breaking everything, I just left it alone and just slowly transferred as many contacts as I was receiving through Google and then going to their website or whatever it took to change my email address to where I wasn't getting so much email from, important places through Google.
Yeah.
So,
I guess what I don't use is Google Drive. I use it only for some random stuff that has nothing to do with any documents. It's just some random things to share with people. But I use Nextcloud for all my local stuff, and I don't have photos. I don't have any other Google services because I got rid of all the services like contacts. I don't know how many Google services, but I don't have much other than probably Google Hangouts that I'm using right now and YouTube. But anything else other than Google Drive, I got rid of it, but I used to use all those services years ago.
Yeah.
Up until now, I've absolutely avoided and have been continuing to avoid using any kind of cloud-based storage system.
Yeah. I minimize it. I don't do any backups in the clouds. The only way if you need to do backups in clouds, then you want to encrypt everything on your own computer first and store just the encrypted files. So that basically means don't use any of the default cloud services exclusively designed to store, because it means that your stuff is probably not as secure. Now, there's some that are a little bit better. So like Spider Oak is a good one that they don't have the encryption keys. What you have, Dropbox is bad. They have the encryption keys to what is over there. For me, I use Dropbox for pretty much everything. Google Docs, storage, contacts, all that kind of stuff. That's all on my own server. I control all that.
You mean Nextcloud, right?
I use
Did
Nextcloud.
Dropbox.
Did I say Dropbox?
Yes.
Yes, you did.
Yes, you did.
God,
Yeah.
You dropped your box,
I do not.
man.
So okay, Dropbox has been on my mind since my accountant's getting himself fired for that debacle. And I did find out that he's losing about half of his accounts over switching to Dropbox. So yeah, I do not use Dropbox. I hate that company. It's just been on my mind so much lately because of that stupid accounting stuff where my accountant's like, hey, everybody, we're switching to Dropbox. No, we're not. So, yes, I use Nextcloud. Thank you, Quint. Good catch. I use Nextcloud for everything. Contact, storage, files. But my files, I don't use that to secure my files. Like, I don't put any backups on there. All I use that for is just the transitional files. So when I'm working on a book, I have the book files in there because I'm typing on the computer. I do that all offline. I bridge it to the phone internet just for enough time, upload it to the cloud server in case something happens to the computer. I have an active copy of the current working books. And that's pretty much it. If I take photos with my phone, I'll push those up to Nextcloud to pull them off, and then I delete them from Nextcloud. So that's what I do.
So, Quinn.
Go ahead.
I use Nextcloud a lot like Tom. I mainly use it to store like stuff like files that I need to share with people. Like if I have a document that I need to share to people, I use Nextcloud for that. And I use Nextcloud for so I can sync my passwords to all my devices, and that's completely encrypted. Which is it's a very good open source alternative to like LastPass or 1Password.
Mm-hmm.
And then
do you guys all? I was going to ask, do you guys host your Nextcloud locally on your own machines?
No, I have mine in the cloud.
Yeah, mine's on my own
Uh,
VPS.
I actually do. I have a computer back there that just has Nextcloud and 2 terabytes storage, and then I got another server because I got a web hosting that does have Nextcloud. So I got 2 instances of Nextcloud. So one that I can access everywhere, and another one that just locally. So I separate all my
Yeah, because
files from
that's
there.
what I would. That's what I would plan on doing. Like, have a local machine for very personal stuff and a cloud one for other things like
Yeah.
sharing things with other people. Yeah.
I keep all my very personal stuff on the computer here, and Nextcloud is hosted in the cloud. It's actually on the same VPS that I have my email server on, which you can go ahead and do the joke, Tom.
Which one? I'm sorry. Say
The
that again. I was looking at. I was looking at the Discord comment feed. People are chatting over there. I'm sorry, I missed it.
You can go ahead and do the mail cow sounds.
Oh, the mail cow sound. All right.
So yeah, I use this. I think you guys already probably know, but I use an email server, an open source email server called MailCow that's very extendable. It has a Nextcloud plugin that lets you install Nextcloud on top of it. And then I use that for all my email, and I use the Nextcloud that's in the Nextcloud plugin in it to put like stuff temporarily, to share things with people, and to store my passwords. I keep sensitive stuff on the computer. Photos, I plug the phone into the computer after taking pictures and sync it to a hard drive. And I have an external hard drive plugged into my computer that has all my photos on it.
Yeah. Tim asks, is Nextcloud expensive? No, Nextcloud is free. You just need a server to host it on. So you could do DigitalOcean and Linode, I believe, have single-click installs. So you could get an account on one of those. Single click, boom, you're set to go.
You can also do Hetzner. Hetzner is not single-click install. You have to do it manually, but it's much, much cheaper than DigitalOcean and Linode.
Okay.
Yeah, I pay for a server that has 4 gigabytes of RAM. I think I have like 40 gigs of hard drive space, and 2 virtual CPUs for only $5 a month. Whereas DigitalOcean, I would have one
really
virtual CPU,
Yeah.
like 2 gigs. I think like only like 1 gig of RAM and like 10 gigs of storage space.
Send me the link to that. I want to look into them some more. Or just tell me what it is. I have a sticky note here. What's that company again?
It's called Hetzner, Hetzner. It's a German company.
Okay, cool.
And their service is called Hetzner Cloud. They offer multiple services, but Hetzner Cloud is their VPS one.
Okay, yeah, all right. Vince, do you have some?
So, I mean, I don't know a lot about setting up these servers. If I was to set up to do DigitalOcean and do the single-click install, is that a guaranteed secure server? I mean, not ironclad guarantee, but they harden it for you when you do the
it should
install?
be pretty secured. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I run mine on a cPanel, which is a very good, very secure platform. I've run another one for somebody else on AWS, which... that one there, AWS is the most advanced because you really do have to harden it. In fact, I found out that some of the SecMod stuff actually is incompatible with Nextcloud. Yeah, that took me 2 hours to figure out. So to take SecMod off, which is one of your, it's one of your more basic security module systems on an Apache server. So yeah, I would go Linode or DigitalOcean if you're concerned about that, because it's going to be give you the most security it doesn't cost a lot either. Yeah. It's going to give you the most security for what you need. So
I did actually have my Nextcloud on DigitalOcean for a little bit, and I don't remember how it was set up because it was so long ago. But I believe it was pretty easy. It was a lot easier than what I had to do on the Hetzner. So I think you want to go with one of those platforms, and that's what you're paying for.
Yeah, I'm guessing Hetzner is going to be closer to AWS. Which
it's not as complex. It's not as complex as AWS, where you don't have to do a bunch of crazy stuff just to get the VM created or to get the server created. It's a pretty simple process, just like DigitalOcean, but everything has to be done manually. Like, you just get a server, like you just get a Debian server, you just get a CentOS server. Yeah. There's no kind of like applications you can like do like a one-click install with.
Yeah, that's how AWS is too. Except AWS, then you need to look at the routing, and there's a lot of other things. And where most
Like, you don't
people
have to
screw
do
up
any of that.
AWS is security groups. You get security groups right, AWS is good. So,
But I was able to set up my server pretty easily. Like, of course, for the cloud, for the web hosting, I was able to use cPanel and just do the one-click install. But for actually setting up my local server and put HTTPS and actually encrypting the connection that goes between my computers and stuff, that took a little bit of configuration, but I was able to do it fairly well. However, it takes a little bit of time. That's the only thing. If you have the time and you know the commands, there shouldn't be any reason why you wouldn't be able to do it, unless if you don't have the right hardware, of course.
yeah. Cortana reminds us that AOL email is still an option. Okay, Boomer. Well placed. Okay, Boomer.
I can grab my AOL startup disk. I still have one that's still sealed with a floppy disk.
Nice.
Apparently,
I do have a server locally also, but it runs a program or a platform of it's a virtualization platform called Zen. And I have different different VMs on top of it. Like, I have one to manage my my Unify network here, because you need to have software to manage it separately. And then that's the only thing I have running it on right now, but I mainly use that for testing. But I could also put something like Open Media Vault on it if I needed to do like a NAS.
Yeah. I run my local server, which is only accessible to the outside world if I'm running my VPN, which it doesn't always get run. But that's local one. It runs the NAS, and it also runs an ebook server, actually. So
that's how mine is
network.
too. Yeah. You can only access it through a VPN, which I do need to put a VPN server on there. That's something that I've been meaning to do.
I don't keep it. I don't keep a VPN on all the time for security reasons.
But of course, I couldn't do port forwarding for the VPN to work properly with the Google Fiber router, so now I can actually do it.
So, as I must say that Linux is really reliable when it comes to servers, because that server, like the hard drive itself where Linux is stored, actually went in multiple computers. So I had an old school computer that I took it in and used that as a server. Then that fell because the power supply had a problem, so I had to take that out. Then I put it inside their computer. That power supply failed. So then I had to buy a new power supply, and then it caused a bunch of failures with updating, and then I couldn't do anything with Linux. But then when I got a new power supply, I was just able to fix it in a matter of minutes, and then everything was going fine again. So you can just swap the hard drive, and it works, which is pretty impressive when it comes to Linux.
Yeah, that's what really surprised me, because I had an older i7 machine, and I went and built a brand new one, and I just took the hard drive out of the old one that had Linux Mint on it, plugged it into a brand new machine. It just started right up, no asking for drivers, no asking for this or nothing. And I can take the drive. I got that computer now is out on my TV set, because it still works. It's just old. I can take the hard drive out of it, bring it in here, put it in this machine and work on it, and take it back out, put it in the TV machine.
Oh, trading fine lines. I didn't see the comments. Thanks. I'm trying to get the kitty's attention here. We're going to wrap up here. So let's give us your final thoughts here. Oh, kitty.
Well, at least for final thoughts. So most of all Google services that you do need, you don't actually really need. The only thing that you would actually need is probably YouTube and maybe Gmail if you're already using that. But if you're on any other Google services, it is definitely possible to just take all your data and put it to alternatives. So really, de-Googlifying is pretty easy if you have the resources to do it and the time, depending on what your situation is. That's all I have to say.
Well, I can say you really don't need any of it. It's what we want. And
Yeah.
they make it really appealing, so we want it so bad we feel we need it. I'm sure getting off Google and moving to other things is a great idea, but the choices for that are limited. Everything else, I mean, you have Microsoft, it's a huge company. Apple, it's a huge company. Amazon, it's a huge company. We're getting all absorbed by huge companies. I read an article about 2 weeks ago about where some of these companies that are really small come up with a really good idea and they go to actually implement that idea to build a product, and these bigger companies come in and offer them a ton of money to buy their entire company out, or else they'll just wait for the product to come out, reverse engineer it, and push them off the road that way. So
I agree totally with you, Dan.
Yeah.
Like if you like, there are so many things in our lives that.
I mean, you can run, but there's only so many places you can run to.
Yeah, there are so many things in our lives that we really don't need if you think about it. I mean, we like to use them because they're nice. I still remember when there were still questions about Google's profitability when it first became public and when it first became a business. I mean, we're so far from that now. It's unbelievable.
Yes, it is.
So you guys that were watching got treated to a double catter. They were just on the floor, so I had to switch the camera over.
Oh, we have
Dan,
both
did
of
you,
them.
We have a double catter, guys. When's the last time we've had a double catter?
Wow,
Dan,
rare.
did you know that pretty much every Google service that doesn't have Google in the name, for example, like Google Maps, Google Sites, Google Drive, Google Analytics, every service that doesn't have Google in the name, like including like YouTube, Blogger, stuff like that, those were all companies that Google bought.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good observation.
Yeah.
I noticed that. If you look through Google's like all products like page, you know, they have a page that lists all their products. If you look through the ones and you see the ones that don't have Google in the name, those were the ones that were bought out.
Yeah, like Gmail and Gmaps and G this and G that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good
Like
observation.
even Android, did you know that Android was bought out by Google?
Yep.
It was its own company.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was one of them technologies that I had talked about that somebody had an idea and Google said, we're either going to buy your company or else we're going to reverse engineer it and run you off the road.
Yeah, that tastes you. You let them buy the company, then you quit. Like, all right, did my job.
Yeah.
One of the things is the reason why Instagram has like Snapchat like filters now and the Instagram stories thing is because Snapchat refused to be bought by Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they're just started
gonna-
implementing those features in Instagram.
We're going to just kind of wrap up my kind of final thoughts, of course. You know, we're streaming again in 1 hour on my other channel. I'll drop a link in here for that. Just be cautious with your Google stuff. Like, I don't say you can never use it. You should never use it. But you want to be cautious about what's going on in the, you know, out there. You want to use services after a lot of conscious and cognizant thought. So go ahead and do that. So I dropped the link in there for the other stream tonight. We are talking about opening up a can of worms. We're going to do a summary of Calvinism on the other channel today. So that is a can of worms. If you know anything about theology, that's just asking for a giant fight. So put them up and let's go battle. So any other final thoughts before we say goodnight?
Not really much. If you can get away from Google, that's very good. But apparently, I'm using Google Hangouts for this, so for completely getting out of Google, it's kind of still a little bit difficult.
Vince,
I
that
want to go back to the
picture,
Stone Age.
Vince, that picture you put in Discord, I think I should send that to Temptations as an advertisement. What do you think? Awesome.
Yeah, so I would personally just say try to avoid Google as much as you can and use alternatives or host your own services like I do.
Yep.
And that because I've actually known a lot of people. Somebody actually told me this today that the only reason they use Google Photos is because of the free unlimited storage. They don't care about anything else. I told them that Google's probably using the photos to train their AI, and they're like, I don't care. All I care about is free unlimited storage.
Free
You
photos.
think about all the
Yeah.
data that we create and it gets put out on the cloud, and there's all these servers out there stored. Could you imagine the amount of power these things are eating up?
Yeah.
Google uses renewable energy.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up for here so we can hang out a little longer before the stream starts. So 9 o'clock on the other one. And we will catch you guys tomorrow for the news.